human beings and long, lengthy process, custody, counterparty risks, to blockchain, which is still new, frontier.
So Mona, you have this concept of core and modules in the Melon software. So can you elaborate a little bit on how this software works?
Yeah, absolutely. So when users are setting up portfolio structures or fund structures using the Melon software, every single portfolio has to have this core element. So this core element is non-negotiable, and it's the code that takes part of the fund that we think should be non-negotiable. So for example, standardizing performance calculations and things like that. The core also glues the modular element of the fund together. So what I mean by that is we recognize that every single portfolio or fund structure, there's room for opinion. So, you know, either due to desires or requirements, for example, regulatory requirements, and people might have to tick certain boxes. So we outsource the room for opinion into what we call modules. And modules, we categorize them in different classes. So we have things like price feed class and the exchange class and the performance and management fee class, et cetera, et cetera. And we're building the first initial suite of modules within each class, so that we have a fully functioning proof of concept to show the world. However, this is an open source code, and because it's open source, everyone's allowed to build modules and develop modules and add them to the respective classes. So just as an example, if Reuters Thomson wanted to provide a price feed module under their own brand, they could code up a smart contract that did that and just add it into the price feed class. And we don't censor anything because the code is open source, and it's also the Melonport policy not to censor anything. And basically the user then can see Reuters as an option when they kind of are going to set up their portfolio structure, et cetera, et cetera.
Fantastic. So to break it down a little bit further, if I wanted to use Melon software to set up a fund, how would I go about doing this?
So basically, so we would also provide a user interface, just as so that it's kind of easy to use, because not everybody can read code, and that's one thing we'll do, but we hope many other people will provide their own user interfaces as well. And basically, it will be a process of, it will almost feel like going into an app store. And if you say, okay, well, I want to charge my investors 2% for managing their money and 20% a performance fee, you select the relevant module that gives you the 2 and 20. And if it doesn't exist, you can just develop it and add it into the open source protocol as a module itself. If you then decide you want your portfolio to have price feeds from Reuters, or maybe an average of Reuters and Bloomberg prices, you can then add that into your dropdown. If you then decide you only ever want your portfolio to trade with a decentralized exchange, such as Decentralized Capital's new exchange or EtherDelta, you select those as modules. And so on and so forth. But the point is that once you deploy this fund, you'll only ever be able to act within the parameters that you've pre-selected. So if you try to trade with another exchange that you haven't pre-selected, literally the code won't let you. So that's kind of the idea behind it. It's kind of automating processes and enforcing them using blockchain technology.
And there's also the Melon Token as well. So taking a look at that. So what role does the Melon Token play in the software?
So the Melon Token is actually a really significant component of the Melon protocol. And we've designed it such that we realize that this is a never-ending project, and the need for many different modules is almost infinite, as it is in the traditional world of asset management. And so what we do is we've created this token, or we're about to create this token on the blockchain called the Melon Token. And it will essentially be there in order to incentivize developers who are adding modules. So if you were a developer and you added modules that were very highly used because they were very good or because they solved a problem that somebody needed, you would then directly get rewarded with Melon tokens. On the other side of that, as you could probably see by this diagram I see you have up, If you're a user and you want to use the software, your costs and your barriers to entry are dramatically reduced because of this automation and enforcement process. But on the flip side, you have to pay in Melon Token. So you create this nice flow of movement in the Melon Token where users don't have much setup or fixed cost. They have a bit of variable cost, which is Melon Token, and can be thought of as a software licensing fee, I guess. And on the flip side, the people who are adding value to the ecosystem get rewarded.
Fantastic. So finally, Melon software, is a open market. Yeah. Now, why is this such a benefit?
It's an open source code, you're right, and that's this is really interesting. You know, I think one of the cool things about something being open source is, you know, we have this shift of trust in what we're doing, and it's shifting trust from human beings and long, lengthy process, custody, counterparty risks to blockchain, which is still new, frontier, and I guess you're kind of shifting your trust to code. And when you have code, you can have bugs. So it's a different kind of trust. You have to trust in the code. And therefore, I think the more people that are reviewing this code on a daily basis, the more likely it is that if there's an error in the code, someone spots it. If you close source the code, then it's like a scientist saying, look, I have the best solution for you, and I'm going to try and sell it to you, but I can't prove it to you because then you'll copy me. And that's why we've decided to go open source, because we want to make sure that we have the best quality code out there and that we build it together with the community.
So for the developers that are out there watching, so how do they get involved? How do they access this?
Well, we're hoping to release our prototype, our second prototype, just before our token issuance in February, at which point I think the code will be open for review. I think we can already start to take feedback, and people can already start to develop their modules. And once we deploy the full functioning protocol in its entirety, I think people can immediately start adding their code in and hopefully reap benefits from it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming in once again and sharing your thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, that's all from us here in the Geneva studios, but if you did like this interview, then please do like and comment on dukascopy.tv.